April 5th, 1945. 10:47 a.m. Castle Aghinolfi, Italy. Lieutenant Vernon Baker hears the metallic clink before he sees it. A German stick grenade tumbles through the air, end over end, spinning. It lands between Baker's boots and Captain John Runyon's feet. 2 feet of Italian dirt separates them from death. The grenade doesn't bounce, doesn't roll, just sits there. Baker's brain does the math instantly. Model 24 steel hand granite. 4-second fuse, 170 grams of TNT. Kill radius, 15 feet. They're both well within 15 feet. Captain Runyon's eyes go wide. His face drains white. The grenade sits there. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. It should have exploded by now. Runyon doesn't wait for 4. He turns and runs. Scrambling back down the mountain, his boots kicking up dirt, his voice screaming something Baker can't make out. The captain is gone in 5 seconds. Baker looks at the grenade, still sitting there, intact, undetonated, a dud. The Germans threw a perfect grenade. Perfect arc, perfect placement. It landed exactly where it needed to kill 2 American officers. And it failed. Now Baker has a choice. Follow Runyon, retreat down the mountain, report equipment failure, live to fight another day, or stay. Baker looks up the mountain. Castle Aghinolfi sits 250 yards ahead, a medieval fortress converted into a German artillery stronghold. Stone walls 3 feet thick, machine gun nests, observation posts, camouflage dugouts. At least 40 German soldiers dug in and waiting. 3 American platoons tried to take that castle. 3 times they failed. 3 times they came back with body bags and nothing else. Now it's Baker's turn. His platoon. 25 men. 70% of them fresh replacements who've never fired a shot in combat. And his commanding officer just abandoned them. Baker looks at the 25 men behind him. Kids, most of them, barely old enough to vote. Looking at him, waiting for orders. He looks at the dud grenade one more time, then he starts walking. Up the mountain, toward the Germans who just tried to kill him. What happens in the next 12 hours will be the most extraordinary display of combat heroism in the Italian campaign. 9 German positions will be destroyed, at least 9 enemy soldiers will die. An entire platoon will reach safety because 1 man refused to retreat. 19 Americans won't make it home. And Vernon Baker's actions will be buried by the United States Army for 52 years. Not because they didn't happen, but because Baker was black. The grenade should have killed him. Instead, it proved something the Germans were about to learn the hard way. Sometimes fate picks the wrong man to kill. Vernon Baker wasn't supposed to be on that mountain. Hell, he wasn't supposed to be in the Army at all. 1941, Cheyenne, Wyoming. A recruitment office on a Tuesday afternoon. Baker walks in. 21 years old, 5'9", 160 pounds. He's looking for a job, any job. The Depression has been grinding for over a decade. Work is scarce. The military pays. The recruiter looks up from his desk, looks at Baker, looks back down. We're not accepting coloreds today. Baker doesn't argue. He leaves, walks home, tells himself it doesn't matter, except it does. 3 months later, June 1941, Baker tries again. Different recruiter, same office. This time, the answer is different. You can enlist, infantry. Take it or leave it. Baker takes it. He doesn't know it yet, but that decision will save his life and cost him 52 years. Baker's childhood was training for survival. Orphaned at 4, raised by his grandparents in a town where being black meant knowing which streets to walk and which to avoid. His grandfather gave him one rule. If you want to live, boy, learn how to conform. Baker learned. He swallowed his anger, kept his head down, did what he was told. That's the version of Vernon Baker who boards a bus to Camp Walters, Texas in 1941. The Jim Crow South version. The version that watches white soldiers sit in the front of the bus while he stands in the back. The version that eats in segregated mess halls. The version that uses separate bathrooms, separate barracks, separate everything. The version that hears the word he's heard his entire life and pretends it doesn't cut. But something changes in basic training. Baker discovers he's good at this, really good. Marksmanship, top scores, physical conditioning, outpaces men 6 inches taller. Tactical thinking, the instructors notice. October 1942, Fort Huachuca, Arizona. Baker gets pulled aside. You've been selected for Officer Candidate School. Officer Candidate School, OCS, the pipeline to becoming a commissioned officer. Most soldiers dream of this. Baker doesn't want it. He's got a cushy job as a supply sergeant. Easy work, safe, he's got it made. But you don't say no to OCS. 13 weeks later, January 11th, 1943, Vernon Baker stands in formation at Fort Benning, Georgia. A white officer pins gold bars on his shoulders. Second Lieutenant Vernon Baker. He's an officer now, in a segregated army, assigned to the 370th Infantry Regiment, 90C 2nd Infantry Division, an all-black unit, commanded by white officers, officers who will give the orders, officers who will get the medals, officers who, 3 years from now, will run when grenades land at their feet. But Baker doesn't know that yet. All he knows is he's got 60 men under his command. Most of them younger than him. Most of them looking at him like he has answers. He doesn't have answers. He has training. And a grandfather's voice in his head. If you want to live, boy. Baker's going to live. The question is, will the men following him? August 1st, 1944. Naples, Italy. Lieutenant Vernon Baker steps off the transport ship onto European soil for the first time. The 370th Infantry Regiment, 92nd Infantry Division, has arrived to join the 5th Army's push north through Italy. Their mission? Break through the Gothic Line, the German defensive position stretching across the Italian mountains. Concrete bunkers, artillery positions, machine gun nests carved into cliff sides. The Germans have been building these defenses for months. They plan to hold here through winter, through spring, as long as it takes. The American plan: take it by force. Baker's platoon gets assigned to night patrols immediately, probing German positions, gathering intelligence, the kind of work that gets men killed quietly. Baker's good at it, really good. He moves through enemy territory like a ghost. His men follow his lead. They trust him because he brings them back, every time. All of them. October 1944. Baker's luck runs out. A night patrol goes wrong. His squad attempts to take a German position on a hillside. They lose 3 men in the first 30 seconds. Baker takes shrapnel to the shoulder and leg. He spends 2 months in the 64th General Hospital in Pisa. 2 months watching men die in beds next to him. 2 months hearing stories about units getting chewed up in the mountains. 2 months wondering if his platoon is still alive. December 1944. Baker returns to his unit. He's the senior officer now, the most experienced combat leader in C Company. For 3 months, he leads. He trains the replacements. He runs the patrols. He makes the decisions. Then March 1945 arrives. So does Captain John Runyon, white, fresh from stateside, 0 combat experience in Italy. He's been assigned to command C Company, Baker's company. The men Baker has kept alive for 8 months are now taking orders from a captain who's never heard a shot fired in anger. But that's how it works in a segregated army. Black officers can lead, but only so far. Only until a white officer shows up. Runyon doesn't ask Baker about the terrain, doesn't ask about German tactics, doesn't ask about the men. He just takes command. April 1945. 5th Army Headquarters issues new orders. Target, Castle Aghinolfi, a medieval fortress on a hilltop near Viareggio. The Germans have turned it into an artillery observation post. Spotters in the castle call in fire on American positions miles away. Take the castle, blind the German guns. 3 platoons have tried. 3 platoons have failed. First attempt, February 1945. The platoon gets pinned down 300 yards from the castle. 17 casualties, 0 progress. Second attempt, March 12th. They make it within 200 yards before German mortars cut them apart. 23 casualties. Third attempt, March 28th. Doesn't even reach 200 yards. 31 casualties. 71 American soldiers wounded or dead trying to take one castle. Now it's C Company's turn. Baker's men, Runyon's command. April 5th, 1945. Morning briefing. Runyon stands in front of the company. 72 men total. Baker's platoon, 25. Runyon points to the map. We move 0800, Castle Aghinolfi. We take it. Any questions? Baker raises his hand. Sir, what's different this time? 3 platoons couldn't. We're different, Lieutenant. We're going to succeed where they failed. How? Baker wants to ask. With what tactics? What support? What's the plan when the mortars start falling? He doesn't ask. You don't question your commanding officer in front of the men. The briefing ends. The men disperse. Baker pulls Runyon aside. Sir, 70% of my platoon are replacements. Most of them have never been in combat. Runyon looks at him. Then this will be good experience for them. Baker wants to say more. Wants to explain that experience doesn't matter when you're dead. Wants to explain that 3 failed attempts means the Germans know exactly where the Americans will attack and exactly how to kill them. Doesn't say anything. Because he learned a long time ago in Cheyenne, Wyoming. If you want to live, learn how to conform. 0800 hours. C Company moves out. 25 men in Baker's platoon. Kids, most of them barely 20 years old. By tonight, 19 of them will be dead. And the white captain leading them will be nowhere to be found. 0814 hours. 200 yards from Castle Aghinolfi. Baker's platoon has been climbing for 2 hours. Through vineyards, past abandoned farmhouses, up steep hillsides, where one wrong step means a 30-foot fall. Not a single shot fired. No mortar rounds. No machine gun fire. The Germans are letting them get close. Baker knows what this means. The 3 previous platoons probably had quiet approaches too, right up until they hit the kill zone. He signals his men to spread out. 5-yard intervals. If the mortars come, they won't cluster kill the whole squad. Captain Runyon is 20 yards behind Baker, staying back. Observing, he calls it. Baker calls it something else. They reach the 250-yard marker. Baker can see the castle now. Stone walls, gun ports, movement in the windows. He spots the first German position, an observation post. 50 yards ahead. 2 Germans. One watching the valley through binoculars. One scanning with a spotting scope. These are the men calling in artillery fire on American positions. These are the men who've killed dozens of GIs from miles away. Baker doesn't hesitate. He drops to one knee, raises his M1 Garand, lines up the shot. The German with the binoculars drops first. Clean headshot. The second German spins around, confused, looking for the shooter. Baker fires again. The German collapses. 2 Germans dead in 3 seconds. The observation post is silent. Baker moves forward. His men follow. 75 yards ahead, a camouflaged machine gun nest. MG-42, the German buzzsaw. 200 rounds per minute. Enough firepower to shred an entire platoon in 30 seconds. Baker spots it because of a simple mistake. The gunner adjusted his position. The barrel moved. Sunlight glinted off the metal. 1 second of reflected light. That's the difference between life and death. Baker crawls forward, alone, his rifle slung across his back, 2 grenades in his hands, 20 yards, 15 yards, 10 yards. He can hear the Germans talking, low voices, relaxed. They don't know the observation post is dead. They don't know an American lieutenant is 10 yards away. Baker pulls the pins on both grenades, tosses them simultaneously. The explosion is massive. The machine gun nest disintegrates. 2 more Germans dead. Baker stands up, waves his platoon forward. That's when Captain Runyon appears beside him. Runyon's face is flushed, excited. "Good work, Lieutenant. We're making excellent progress." Then Baker hears it. A metallic clink, not from ahead, from behind Runyon. A German stick grenade arcs through the air, spinning end over end. It lands between Baker's boots and Runyon's feet. Both men freeze. Baker's brain does the calculation instantly. 4-second fuse. They have maybe 2 seconds left. The grenade sits there. 1 second. Runyon's eyes go wide. His face drains of all color. 2 seconds. The grenade should explode. It doesn't. 3 seconds. Runyon doesn't wait for 4. He screams something Baker can't understand. Then he turns and runs, sprinting back down the mountain, his boots kicking up dirt, his arms pumping. The captain is gone in 5 seconds. Baker looks at the grenade, still sitting there, intact, a dud. The fuse failed. The detonator failed. Something failed. But Baker's alive. His men are watching, waiting, looking at him for orders. Baker picks up the dead grenade, examines it. German manufacture, Model 24. Should have killed both of them. Didn't. He tosses it aside and looks up the mountain. Runyon is gone. The company commander, the man who's supposed to lead 72 men into combat, gone. Baker is alone. No command structure, no support. Just him and 25 men on a hillside, facing 40 Germans in a fortified castle. He has 2 choices. Follow Runyon down the mountain. Abort the mission. Report that the commanding officer retreated under fire. Watch the Army court-martial a white captain based on a black lieutenant's testimony. That'll go well. Or continue the attack, alone, against a position that's killed 71 Americans already. Baker keys his radio. "All squads, this is Baker. We're continuing the assault. Stay in formation. Follow my lead." His men don't question it. They start moving. Behind Baker, somewhere down the mountain, Captain John Runyon is still running. Ahead of Baker, the Germans have spotted the Americans. Mortars start falling, and Vernon Baker walks straight into hell. Because sometimes a dud grenade isn't a miracle, it's a test. And Baker just decided how he's going to answer it. The first mortar round lands 30 yards to Baker's left. The explosion throws dirt 15 feet into the air. Shrapnel whistles through the trees. Second round, 20 yards right. The Germans are bracketing, finding the range. Third round, 10 yards behind. Baker knows what's coming next. The fourth round lands in the middle, right where his men are clustered. "Spread out!" Baker screams. His platoon scatters. 5-yard intervals become 10 yards, 10 becomes 15. The fourth mortar round hits empty ground. No casualties. But now the Germans know where they are. Machine gun fire erupts from the castle. MG-42s. The sound is distinctive, like tearing canvas. 200 rounds per minute. Tracers arc across the hillside. Baker's men dive for cover behind rocks, trees, anything solid. 2 men don't make it. Private Chen takes 3 rounds to the chest. Private Rodriguez catches a burst across his legs. Both dead before they hit the ground. 17 of 25 men left. Baker does. The math. At this rate, they'll all be dead in 20 minutes. You can't assault a fortified position while pinned down by machine guns. You just die slowly while the enemy picks you off. Standard infantry doctrine. Call for artillery support. Suppress the enemy guns, then advance. Baker doesn't have artillery support. Captain Runyon was supposed to coordinate that. Runyon's gone. Baker doesn't have mortars, doesn't have air support, doesn't have backup. He has 23 men, rifles, grenades, and a problem. The Germans are in hardened positions, concrete dugouts, stone walls, camouflaged nests. The Americans are exposed on a hillside with zero cover. This is where the 3 previous platoons failed. This exact situation. Pinned down, cut off, waiting for support that never comes. Baker decides he's not waiting. He starts crawling, not back down the mountain, not toward safety, up, toward the German positions. His platoon sergeant, Williams, grabs his ankle. "Lieutenant, what are you doing?" "Fixing our problem." "Keep their heads down." "Sir, you can't." Baker's already moving. Low crawl, elbows and knees, rifle strapped across his back, 4 grenades clipped to his belt. The machine gun fire continues, tracers streaking overhead. But the Germans are firing at where the Americans were, not where Baker is now. He covers 50 yards in 5 minutes. Every movement deliberate, slow, invisible. Ahead, a German dugout, reinforced position carved into the hillside. Observation port facing the valley. Perfect field of fire. 2 Germans inside. Baker can hear them talking. Calm voices. They think they're safe. Concrete walls. Camouflaged entrance. The Americans can't even see this position from down the hill. Baker reaches the observation port. A narrow cylinder, 6 inches wide. The Germans use it to spot targets without exposing themselves. Baker unslings his M1 Garand. He sticks the barrel into the observation port cylinder, all the way in, until the muzzle is inside the dugout. Then he fires. 8 rounds, as fast as he can pull the trigger. The sound inside that concrete box must be deafening. The bullets ricocheting off stone walls. Nowhere to hide, nowhere to run. Silence. Baker pulls his rifle out. Looks through the port. Both Germans dead. He moves to the next position, 75 yards uphill. Another dugout. This one has a machine gun nest attached. The MG-42 that's been chewing up his platoon. Baker crawls closer, pulls a grenade, pulls the pin. 3 Germans in this position. The gunner, the loader, a spotter. Baker tosses the grenade through a gap in the camouflage netting. 2 seconds later, explosion. The machine gun goes silent. 3 more Germans dead. Baker's count. 7 Germans killed personally. 2 observation posts destroyed. 1 machine gun eliminated. But the mortars are still falling. And now Baker sees why the Germans have been so effective. Why 3 platoons failed. Why 71 Americans died trying to take this castle. There's not 1 defensive line. There are 3. The outer positions Baker just destroyed? Those were early warning, designed to slow the attack. The second line is 50 yards ahead. Interconnected dugouts, machine gun nests with overlapping fields of fire. If Baker's men advance, they walk into a kill zone. The third line, the castle itself. Stone walls, heavy weapons, the final fortress. To take this position, Baker has to clear all 3 lines. He has 23 men, most of them pinned down under fire. Running low on ammunition. The Germans have 40 soldiers, fortified positions, supply lines, reinforcements available. The math says Baker loses. The math says retreat. Baker keeps crawling. Because somewhere down that mountain, Captain Runyon is telling headquarters that the mission failed, that the Germans were too strong, the casualties were unacceptable. Runyon's probably writing his after-action report right now, explaining why he withdrew, making it sound strategic. And when Baker comes back down that mountain, if he comes back, Runyon's report will be official record, a white captain's word against a black lieutenant's reality. Baker knows how that story ends. So he's writing a different story, one where the mission succeeds, where the Germans lose, where Vernon Baker proves that fear doesn't determine outcomes. He reaches the second defensive line. 4 more dugouts, 2 machine gun nests, at least 15 Germans. His grenades are running low. 2 left, his rifle ammunition, 20 rounds. The mortars are still falling. He can hear his men screaming. Another casualty. Private Morrison, shrapnel to the abdomen. 16 of 25 men left. Baker pulls his second-to-last grenade, crawls to the first dugout in the second line, pulls the pin, and that's when the German weapons platoon appears. 20 soldiers, fresh reinforcements, coming up from the castle, except they're not wearing Wehrmacht gray, they're wearing white and red, medic markings. The Geneva Convention protects medics. You don't shoot medics, even enemy medics. But these medics are carrying MP-40 submachine guns. It's a ruse. Germans disguised as medical personnel to get close to American positions. And they're heading straight for Baker's pinned-down platoon. Baker watches them advance. Watches his men, who won't shoot because of the medic markings, stay in position. Watches the medics get within grenade range. Then the medics open fire. Full automatic, sustained bursts. Baker's men go down like wheat. Private Jackson, Private Lee, Corporal Washington, Sergeant Williams. 4 men dead in 10 seconds. 12 of 25 left. Now Baker has a choice. Finish clearing the second defensive line, complete the mission, destroy the German positions, or go back and save what's left of his platoon. He can't do both, the mission or the men. Baker looks at the castle, looks at his dying platoon, makes his decision. He runs back down the hill, firing as he moves, screaming at his men, "Withdraw! Fall back to the rally point! Go!" His remaining men don't argue. They run. Baker covers their retreat, firing, reloading, firing. The medics chase them. Baker drops 3 with aimed shots, but 2 more Americans fall during the withdrawal. Private Chen, Private Kowalski. 10 men left, 10 out of 25. Baker reaches the rally point, counts his survivors, 10 men, some wounded, all terrified. 12 hours of combat, 15 men dead. The mission failed. Or is it? Because Vernon Baker just destroyed 7 German positions, killed at least 9 enemy soldiers, broke through 2 defensive lines. 3 platoons couldn't do that. 71 Americans died trying. Baker did it with 1 platoon, and he brought 10 men back alive. The castle still stands. The Germans still hold the high ground. But Baker's not done, because tomorrow night he's going back. And this time, he's not leaving until that castle falls. April 5th, 1945, 11:47 p.m. 13 hours after the grenade failed to kill him. Vernon Baker should be in a field hospital, or writing casualty reports, or sleeping. He's doing none of those things. He's standing in front of the battalion commander, volunteering. "Sir, I'll lead the advance tonight." The colonel looks at Baker like he's insane. "Lieutenant, you just lost 15 men. Your platoon is combat ineffective. You need rest." "The Germans think we're done, sir. They think we retreated. If we hit them tonight, they won't expect it." "With what men?" "You have 10 effectives left." "I'll take whoever you can spare. 2nd platoon, 3rd platoon. I know the German positions. I know the terrain. I can get us through." The colonel studies Baker's face, looking for something. Fatigue? Fear? A reason to say no? he doesn't find it. You'll lead the battalion advance through the minefields to secure the high ground, not the castle, just the approach positions. Clear? Clear, sir. You have 4 hours to prep. Move out at 400. Baker salutes, turns to leave. The colonel stops him. Lieutenant, why are you doing this? Baker doesn't have to think about the answer. Because Captain Runyon's report will say we failed. I want the record to show we didn't. 0400 hours, April 6th. Darkness. Baker leads 40 men up the mountain. Different men, different platoons. None of them have seen the German positions. None of them know the terrain. Baker knows both. He guides them through the minefield, step by step, marking safe paths with engineer tape. Every mine is a potential casualty. Every footstep is a gamble. The Germans are firing illumination flares, trying to spot movement. Machine gun fire sweeps the hillside at random intervals. Baker moves through it like a ghost. His men follow his exact footsteps. Exactly. 3 hours. 0 casualties. By dawn, American forces hold the high ground overlooking Castle Aghinolfi. The castle is surrounded, cut off. The Germans can't resupply, can't reinforce, can't escape. By noon, April 6th, the Germans surrender. Castle Aghinolfi falls. 3 platoons couldn't take it in 3 attempts. 71 casualties. Vernon Baker took it in 2 days, leading men through minefields in darkness, under fire, after losing 15 of his own. The battalion commander writes his report, praises Baker's leadership, recommends him for the Distinguished Service Cross. Captain John Runyon writes his report too. It mentions tactical withdrawal under heavy fire. It mentions coordinated reinforcement strategy. It mentions his leadership. It doesn't mention running from a grenade. It doesn't mention abandoning his men. It doesn't mention Vernon Baker destroying 7 German positions alone. 2 reports. Same battle. Different realities. One written by a white captain who fled. One written by a black lieutenant who stayed. Guess which one becomes official record. July 4th, 1945. Viareggio, Italy. 3 months after Castle Aghinolfi. The war in Europe is over. Germany surrendered May 8th. The killing stopped. The bodies came home. The medals got pinned. Vernon Baker stands in formation with 200 other soldiers. Dress uniform, ribbons aligned, boots polished. Today is the award ceremony. The 92nd Infantry Division, the Buffalo Soldiers, black men who fought from Rome to the Alps. Captain John Runyon is here too, standing 50 feet away. They haven't spoken since April 5th, since the grenade, since Runyon ran. The division commander steps to the podium, begins reading citations, calling names. Captain John Runyon, for leadership under fire, for tactical coordination during the assault on Castle Aghinolfi, for ensuring the safety of his men during strategic withdrawal. The Bronze Star. Runyon steps forward, salutes. The commander pins the medal. They shake hands. Strategic withdrawal, that's what Runyon called it in his report. Running from a grenade, ensuring the safety of his men. He ran while they died. Leadership under fire. He wasn't there for the fire. Baker was. But Runyon has the medal, the official record, the handshake. Baker watches, says nothing, his grandfather's voice in his head. If you want to live, boy. The commander continues. More names, more medals. Bronze stars, silver stars, commendation medals, all white officers. Then, First Lieutenant Vernon Baker, for extraordinary heroism during combat operations near Castle Aghinolfi, for destroying multiple enemy positions under fire, for leadership and courage beyond measure, the Distinguished Service Cross. The Distinguished Service Cross, second highest combat decoration in the United States military. One step below the Medal of Honor. Baker steps forward. The commander pins the medal on his chest. Light blue ribbon, bronze cross. They shake hands. Baker salutes, returns to formation. The ceremony continues. More awards, more white officers. Then something Baker notices. Something nobody says out loud. The white officers receiving lesser medals, bronze stars, commendation medals. They're positioned at the front of the formation. The place of honor, where photographers can see them, where visiting generals can congratulate them. Baker, with the Distinguished Service Cross, stands in the back, off to the side, out of frame. The ceremony ends. Congratulations all around. Handshakes, backslapping. Baker stands alone. That night, he looks at his medal, the second highest decoration for valor, given for extraordinary heroism. He thinks about the citation, the words they used. Destroying multiple enemy positions under fire. Multiple. That's the word they chose. Multiple, not 9, not the specific count. Multiple. Leadership and courage beyond measure. Beyond measure. Not single-handedly saved his platoon. Not covered the withdrawal while his commander fled. Beyond measure. The citation is true, but it's incomplete, carefully worded, sanitized. It doesn't mention Captain Runyon running. Doesn't mention Baker being alone. Doesn't mention 15 men dying while their white commander wrote reports from safety. It doesn't mention that 3 white platoons failed and 1 black lieutenant succeeded. Because that's not the story the Army wants to tell. Baker knows the question nobody's asking. Why the Distinguished Service Cross? Why not the Medal of Honor? He destroyed 9 German positions personally. Led his men under fire after his commander abandoned them. Volunteered for a night advance through minefields that nobody else would lead. Achieved in 2 days what 3 platoons couldn't achieve in 3 months. White soldiers have received medals of honor for less, much less. Baker knows the answer. Everyone knows the answer. Nobody says it. Between August 1944 and May 1945, the 92nd Infantry Division suffers nearly 5,000 casualties. Wounded, dead, missing. 5,000 black soldiers. 0 medals of honor awarded. Not 1. Baker stays in Italy until February 1947. Occupation duty, guarding German prisoners, processing paperwork. He continues serving after. Makes a career of it. 28 years in uniform. Eventually commands an all-white airborne company after President Truman desegregates the military in 1948. White soldiers, following a black officer. Some of them hate it. Some of them respect it. All of them obey. Baker retires in 1968. Lieutenant Colonel, full pension, honorable discharge. He works for the Red Cross for 20 years after that, helping veterans navigate bureaucracy, processing benefits, cutting through red tape. The Distinguished Service Cross stays in a drawer. He doesn't display it, doesn't talk about it. The Medal of Honor never comes. 52 years pass. 52 years of silence. Then, 1993. Someone starts asking questions. 1993. Nearly 50 years after World War II ended, the United States Army commissions a study. A simple question with a complicated answer. Were black soldiers systematically denied the Medal of Honor during World War II because of racism? The researchers know the answer before they start. Everyone knows the answer. But knowing and proving are different things. The study takes 3 years. Researchers comb through thousands of military records, after-action reports, witness statements, citation recommendations. They're looking for a pattern. Black soldiers recommended for the Medal of Honor, whose recommendations were downgraded. or denied, or lost. They find the pattern immediately. It's everywhere. The statistics are damning. During World War II, 433 Medals of Honor were awarded. 433 medals for extraordinary heroism, for actions above and beyond the call of duty. How many went to black soldiers? 0. Not one. Out of 433. Over 1.2 million black Americans served in World War II. They fought in Europe, the Pacific, North Africa. They bled. They died. 0 medals of honor. The researchers dig deeper. They identify specific cases. Soldiers whose actions clearly met the criteria, whose white counterparts received the medal for comparable or lesser acts. They find 7 names. 7 black soldiers who should have received the Medal of Honor, whose recommendations were submitted, whose heroism was documented, who were denied because of skin color. Vernon Baker is one of them. The researchers read his file, the Distinguished Service Cross citation, the witness statements from survivors of Castle Aghinolfi, the battalion commander's recommendation. They read Captain Runyon's report too, the strategic withdrawal, the tactical coordination. They read between the lines. One researcher writes in his notes, Baker destroyed 9 enemy positions alone after his commanding officer abandoned the field. If he were white, this would be Medal of Honor without question. 1996. The Army affirms the study's findings. 7 black soldiers. 7 Medal of Honor recommendations approved. 52 years late. But there's a problem. 6 of the 7 are dead. Edward A. Carter, Jr., died 1963. John R. Fox, killed in action, 1944. Willie F. James, Jr., killed in action, 1945. Reuben Rivers, killed in action, 1944. Charles L. Thomas, died, 1980. George Watson, killed in action, 1943. 6 families will receive medals for fathers and grandfathers, and uncles who never knew their heroism would be recognized. 6 posthumous awards. 1 living recipient, Vernon Joseph Baker, age 77. He's alive. Still living in Idaho, working part-time at the local VA office, helping veterans file disability claims. He has no idea the phone call is coming. January 1997. A military liaison contacts Baker, asks if he's available to travel to Washington, D.C. on January 13th. Baker asks why. The liaison tells him, President Clinton wants to award him the Medal of Honor. Baker is silent for a long time. Then he asks, what about the others? 6 posthumous awards, sir. You're the only living recipient. Baker is silent again. He's thinking about the men on that mountain. April 5th, 1945. The 15 who died. The ones whose names nobody remembers. He's thinking about the 6 soldiers who earned this medal and died before anyone admitted they deserved it. He's thinking about 52 years, over half a century, waiting for someone to say, you were right. You did enough. You deserved recognition. I'll be there, Baker says. January 13th, 97. The White House. 52 years after a grenade failed to kill him. 52 years after he destroyed 9 German positions and saved his platoon. 52 years after the Army gave him the 2nd highest medal and forgot about him. Vernon Baker is finally going to receive what he earned in 1945. But the question remains, is recognition still meaningful when it arrives half a century too late? January 13th, 1997. The White House, the East Room. Vernon Baker, age 77, stands in dress uniform. His Distinguished Service Cross is pinned to his chest. The medal he received in 1945, the one that wasn't enough. Today, he'll receive the one that should have been pinned 52 years ago. Beside him, 6 families, widows, children, grandchildren, receiving medals for men who died never knowing they'd be honored. Edward Carter Jr.'s family, John Fox's widow, Willie James Jr.'s sister, Reuben Rivers' niece, Charles Thomas's son, George Watson's nephew. Photographs of the 6 dead soldiers sit on easels. Young men, frozen in time, forever in uniform. Baker is the only living recipient, the only one who can accept the medal himself. President Bill Clinton steps to the podium. Today we fill the gap in that picture and give a group of heroes something that was owed to them a half-century ago. He reads the citations, one by one. 7 acts of extraordinary heroism. Edward Carter, wounded 5 times, continued fighting, killed 3 enemy soldiers despite injuries, died 1963 without recognition. John Fox, called artillery fire on his own position to stop German advance, killed instantly, saved his battalion. Willie James Jr. assaulted machine gun nest alone, destroyed it, killed defending wounded comrade. Reuben Rivers, refused evacuation despite wounds, led tank platoon through enemy fire, killed in action. Charles Thomas, destroyed German roadblock despite severe injuries, led his men to safety, died 1980. George Watson, drowned rescuing soldiers from sinking ship, saved dozens, body never recovered. 7 men, 7 impossible acts of courage. 6 of them are dead. Clinton calls Vernon Baker forward. Baker walks slowly, not from age, from weight. The weight of 52 years. The weight of 15 men who died on a mountain. The weight of 6 soldiers who never lived to see this day. Clinton reads Baker's citation. First, Lieutenant Vernon J. Baker distinguished himself by extraordinary heroism in action on 5 and 6 April 1945. Advanced through enemy machine gun and mortar fire. Destroyed several enemy positions. Personally killed 9 enemy soldiers, despite being abandoned by his commanding officer. Led his men to safety. The words Baker should have heard in 1945. Clinton places the Medal of Honor around Baker's neck. Light blue ribbon, bronze star. Minerva's head in the center. They shake hands. Clinton salutes. Baker salutes back. Then something breaks inside him. Something he's held for 52 years. Baker cries, not quietly, not with dignity. He cries like a man who's carried too much for too long. The audience doesn't know whether he's crying from joy or grief. Baker knows. He's crying for both. For the recognition, finally, after 52 years of silence. And for the men who aren't here, the 15 who died on that mountain, the 6 who earned this medal and never received it, the thousands of black soldiers who fought and bled and died and were forgotten. Baker accepts the medal, looks at the 6 photographs of the dead recipients. He speaks to the reporters afterward. I'm accepting this for all the men who were there with me, the men who didn't come home, the men who were forgotten. Someone asks, how does it feel to finally receive the Medal of Honor? Baker is quiet for a moment. It doesn't bring anyone back. It doesn't change what happened. But maybe it means we're finally telling the truth about who fought and who bled and who deserved to be remembered. The ceremony ends. The families leave with medals in wooden boxes. Baker leaves with a Medal of Honor around his neck, 52 years late. But there, the question he asked himself on January 13th. Is recognition still meaningful when it arrives half a century too late? The answer isn't simple. The medal doesn't erase 52 years of being ignored, doesn't bring back the dead, doesn't undo the racism that denied him in 1945. But it does one thing, one small, important thing. It changes the official record. Captain Runyon's report, the one about strategic withdrawal and tactical coordination, that's still in the files. But now, sitting beside it, there's a Medal of Honor citation, the highest military decoration in the United States, awarded to First Lieutenant Vernon J. Baker for extraordinary heroism, for actions above and beyond the call of duty. The truth, finally, in the official record. 52 years late. But permanent. July 13th, 2010. St. Marie's, Idaho. Vernon Joseph Baker dies of brain cancer, age 90. He lived 13 years after receiving the Medal of Honor, 13 years of speaking at military academies, sharing his story, making sure the men who died on that mountain weren't forgotten. He's buried at Arlington National Cemetery. Section 34, grave 907, full military honors, flag-draped coffin, 21-gun salute, thousands attend, generals, senators, veterans, students. The medal is buried with him. Here's what Vernon Baker's story teaches us. A grenade failed to kill him in 1945. Not because of luck, because he had something left to do. Destroy 9 German positions. Save his men. Prove that courage doesn't have a color. Wait 52 years for his country to admit the truth. The Germans regretted missing with that grenade. They should have killed him when they had the chance. Because Vernon Baker didn't just survive that day on the mountain. He outlived the racism that tried to bury him. He outlived the lies. He outlived everyone who said his heroism didn't matter. And when he finally died at age 90, he died as what he always was, a hero. The grenade was a dud. Vernon Baker wasn't.